With the Nintendo Switch 2 finally being announced alongside the very first Switch 2 Direct in April, there is no better time to look back on the past Nintendo Directs of the Switch 1 generation. We're going to go in chronologic order of when these came out and solely focusing on the mainline Nintendo Directs and Nintendo Direct Minis, including the partner showcases. We're also going to include the Nintendo Spotlight from E3 2017 just for the sake of being thorough. We're not going to include Indie Worlds or game-specific or series-specific directs though. But with all that being said, let's jump into the very first Nintendo Switch Direct on April 12th, 2017. To the detriment of this Direct, the first 10 minutes were used up on 3DS games like Kirby Blowout Blast, a game I didn't even know existed frankly, Fire Emblem Echoes DLC, Miitopia, and a couple other games, which is all fine and dandy, but when you just released a brand new shiny console, the last things your fans want to do is sit through 10 minutes of games coming to your old system. Finally moving into the Nintendo Switch games, it's important to note in January that there was a Nintendo Switch presentation that showcased a lot of these early titles, but that wasn't anything like a Direct, which is why we skipped over it. Anyways, starting things off, we got a 5-minute trailer for ARMS, which 5 minutes is also all it takes before you've played everything ARMS has to offer. It actually does a good job at showing the concepts ARMS has that makes it unique from other fighting games, but that's just the thing. All ARMS has is concepts. This was then followed up with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, showcasing an actually decent battle mode? My fellow Wii U soldiers who played the original Mario Kart 8, we finally made it through the trenches with this announcement. Some other announcements were Puyo Puyo Tetris, a Rayman Legends port, and not much else. Oh, sorry, did you want me to bring up Sonic Forces? It closed out with a look at Splatoon 2, showcasing the new Salmon Run mode, and that was the Direct. I get they didn't want to reveal all too much considering that E3 was just a couple months away, but man, what a nothing burger. Besides ARMS, the new battle mode and a port of Mario Kart 8, and one new mode in Splatoon 2, which, mind you, all these were already announced in the beginning of the year's Nintendo Switch presentation revealing the system, there really wasn't anything new to this thing. Now, Battle Mode and Salmon Run are actually both pretty damn fun and highlights of their respective games, but far from groundbreaking, and in the case of Battle Mode, kinda expected. And ARMS is fucking ARMS. It sucks we have to start off so negatively, but honestly, I think we're starting things off with a bad tier. Now, I was originally going to put this in the Concord tier right off rip, but as you'll come to see, there are way worse ones ahead. But for now, let's hope E3 2017 has something good for us to sink our teeth into. Nintendo opened their E3 with a generic Switch compilation ad, which I mean, sure man, why not? Reggie from GameStop then comes on screen to deliver the hardest freestyle of our generation.
If it's not fun, why bother? If it's not a battle, where's the fun? It's a test that you pass or a quest that you fail. A race against time. Fun and battle always locked together. But the game is also something else. It's a journey, a passport to new world, maybe even an odyssey. But in the end, it's not just where you can take your game. It's where your game can take you.
From there, they showcase Xenoblade Chronicles 2, or what I like to call it, future Pyro Body Pillow owner's wet dream. The trailer doesn't show much, but considering fans have been waiting for the next mainline entry since like 2010, it was pretty cool to at the very least see here. That leads us to the unveiling of Kirby Star Allies, showcasing the recruitment of allies gameplay gimmick, which leans heavily into multiplayer, but overall just kinda looks like your standard generic Kirby game. They then went into Pokken Tournament ported for Switch, which is a game I completely forgot existed. They showcased the new Pokemon being added to this version of the game, meaning they're already supporting it more than the original version. And then this game still isn't out. This was an absolutely huge deal though. The Metroid series has been doomed to Metroid Other M and Prime Federation Force for the last few titles, so it's great to see we're finally getting a true Metroid Prime 4. Anyways, they showcased this untitled Yoshi game that would later become Yoshi's Crafted World, a bit of a successor to Yoshi's Woolly World, and after a quick trailer of Fire Emblem Warriors, they went into a section of Breath of the Wild showcasing all new DLC for the game. Then for some godforsaken reason, Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle was unveiled. How the fuck did this happen and why? And to close it all out, they revealed the next fully 3D Super Mario game, Super Mario Odyssey. It showed so many new wacky mechanics, including throwing the hat as a weapon and controlling fucking dinosaurs, all the while accompanied by peak music in the background, which let everyone know they were in for peak 3D Mario. Between Odyssey and Metroid Prime 4, as well as a few other solid announcements, we've got a good tier direct on our hands. Looking back in retrospect, it is also kinda held back by the fact that Metroid Prime 4's announcement has amounted to absolutely fucking nothing for so long, but despite all that, it's time to dive into Nintendo's final direct of 2017 in September. They once again open with 10 more minutes of 3DS games, including Metroid Samus Returns, Ultra Sun and Moon, and a Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga remake. Can't forget Mario Party The Top 100 or Minecraft, can ya? Honestly, a decent showing of the games for the platform, but like, who cares? Surely one of these studios won't go bankrupt trying to make games for the 3DS still in 2019. They then followed this up with an 8-minute long Xenoblade trailer, and as cool as this is for the fans, I really doubt this sold that many people on the game, and I think most people have an idea whether they're into these types of games or not. Not to discredit the trailer, it actually does a really good job diving into the sequels and new systems that set it apart from the original. They follow this up with some short trailers for Splatoon 2 updates of old maps and Fire Emblem Warriors DLC, you know, before the game actually releases. Later they announced that Doom and Wolfenstein were actually being ported to the Switch, which is pretty huge. We got a first look at Project Octopath Traveler, showcasing its beautiful 2D sprite work and lighting. And believe it or not, the final title ended up being just Octopath Traveler. Wow. They then showed a new Kirby Star Allies trailer showing that yes, this is a Kirby game, before leading into the final section of the Direct, giving a more proper look at Super Mario Odyssey. It was focused on the locations the game takes place in, and not much else we hadn't already seen in the original trailer. As nice as the section was, I don't think it quite saves the Direct from being in the mid-tier. This Direct was far more of an update Direct and new looks at games already announced, so it didn't really have much of an awe factor. Heading into 2018, Nintendo kickstarted the year with the first of many Nintendo Direct Minis. Let's see what they detailed. Opening with The World Ends With You, an acclaimed DS title remastered for the Switch, was a pleasant surprise for the fans. We then get a look at the new Pokemon they added to the game, followed by another Kirby Star Allies trailer that reinforces that yes, this is a Kirby game. We then saw the announcement of Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition for the Switch, bringing it over from the Wii U. Following this up was an all-new Mario Tennis game, Mario Tennis Aces, because Nintendo loves meat riding Mario Tennis specifically and refuses to make a new Mario Baseball. As for the game itself, yeah, it's just fucking tennis, what'd you expect? We got a new trailer for Mario Odyssey's Balloon World mode and some Mario + Rabbids DLC focused on Donkey Kong. This was followed with more trailers for Celeste coming to Switch, a game that feels right at home on the platform, and a port of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze with its brand spanking new Funky mode. I know ladies, I know, calm down. They closed out this mini direct with Dark Souls Remastered, which is actually pretty cool to see, even though I don't think I'll ever play a Souls game because I'm too big of a pussy and would probably break my controller. But as a whole, I'm feeling another mid-tier on this one, just above the last direct. It's crazy this mini direct had more things to show than the previous one, but most of the things it did show were just ports and nothing that crazy. But just 2 months later, we got ourselves an all-new regular direct, so maybe this one we'll step things up. Opening with more 3DS games, thankfully only for 5 minutes this time, we eventually got to the Switch games with Kirby Star Allies. We get it, Nintendo, it's a Kirby game! On a far more interesting note, they announced Okami, one of the most beloved games from the PlayStation 2 era, was coming to the Switch. Sushi Striker was announced to come to both 3DS and Switch, which I'm sure someone out there finds that cool. We then get a new look at Octopath Traveler without the project in the name. This one dives more into the story and the gameplay, putting more eyes on the game. We got more Mario Tennis Aces with a trailer detailing the specifics of the gameplay, and we got our first look at the Captain Toad Treasure Tracker port, featuring some Mario Odyssey themed levels. Undertale was announced for Switch, and Crash Insane Trilogy brought over the Crash series to Nintendo consoles for the very first time. We got a new look at Splatoon 2's DLC campaign, as well as this other trailer opening up with Splatoon. Where's this going? Holy shit. That is how you finish off a Nintendo Direct. This is easily one of, if not the most iconic ending to a Nintendo Direct ever. I'll be honest, I was definitely feeling another mid-tier, but after that finish, it sneaked its way into the good tier. Honestly, I don't even know if this Direct deserves it, but this is probably the best Direct closer we have ever had. Well, let's look to E3 2018 for hopefully a bigger look at this new Smash Bros. Game. Nintendo opened up their E3 with a look at Daemon X Machina, a mech shooter game. I don't really know much for this game or genre in general. The Code Geass anime is the only mech story that has ever captivated me. From what I heard though, I'm not missing out on much. Right after, they went into Xenoblade 2's Torna DLC, an all-new campaign that's essentially the size of an all-new game. Pyro Body Pillow owners have never had it so good. We were then shown the very first Pokemon game for Nintendo Switch, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. These were a different kind of Pokemon game that combined Pokemon Go style of catching Pokemon into the main series style of games. This being our first taste of Pokemon on the Switch was an appetizing one. Obviously it wasn't an all new generation and just a Kanto reimagining, but technically speaking, this was our first look at an HD Pokemon game, so it was exciting to see what the series could do on the new hardware. They also unveiled the Pokeball Plus accessory, which quickly became the Switch's most "this is a fun novelty to play the one specific game is compatible with one-time controller" even to this day. Next up, we saw the Switch's very first Mario Party in Super Mario Party. We only got a look at one of the boards, but that's fine. I'm sure they made more than 4 boards for it anyway, because that number would be way too low. They also showcased a few new minigames that utilized the Joy-Con controller, similarly to how 8 and 9's minigames focused on the Wiimote's motion controls. Sorry in advance to non-Fire Emblem Three Houses fans, because I'm going to yap your ears off, but they're about to announce my favorite game of all time, so bear with me. Opening with a monologue over a world map, tapestry, and cutscenes of war, we are introduced to the latest Fire Emblem entry, Fire Emblem Three Houses. You can tell this game was in its early stages of development, with its unfinished character models, gameplay mechanics, training systems, and Edelgard having a completely different voice actress from the final product. They also showcased the hub area of this game in all of its sadly kinda ugly glory. Honestly, they kinda showed this game off a bit too early. It looks really rough here, but this is prior to the game getting delayed, which is far more important, and plus, what am I saying anyway, this game's fucking peak. But how will Nintendo top the trailer for my favorite game of all time? What's next? Yeah, that checks out. Reggie from GameStop himself then announces Overcooked 2, Killer Queen Black, and Hollow Knight are all coming to the Switch. A pretty stacked group of indie games coming to the platform all very soon. After one final sizzle reel, the Direct spends the last 2/3 of the Direct on the new Smash Bros. Game. quite a hefty amount of time to dedicate to any game, but if any game does deserve it, it is Smash. Sakurai brings us into a trailer to announce exactly who's going to be in this game, and you know how I said the reveal trailer for this game was iconic? Well, they fucking topped it because everyone is here, motherfucker! Every previous Super Smash Bros. Character is back. How the fuck did they actually pull this off? This trailer closed out revealing the name of the game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I need a new change of pants. Sakurai then goes over some changes that were made to some characters to give insight on what makes this Smash different from the previous. After a while of that, he goes on to explain that characters like Dark Pit will be referred to as Echo Fighters from here on out. You know, characters and movesets that take a lot of inspiration from other already existing fighters. Not Dr. Mario though, he's too unique. This leads them to announcing Daisy as an Echo Fighter in Ultimate. He then talks about returning stages and items whilst deconfirming Waluigi in the process. I've yapped long enough about Ultimate for now, so let's fast forward to the end of the Direct where they announced longtime fan requested character Ridley is going to be playable in Ultimate. And with that was E3 2018. Man, I feel bad for anyone out there watching this who wasn't all that into Smash, because sitting through 30 minutes of Smash in a 40-minute Direct probably wasn't your ideal E3 from Nintendo, but fuck you anyways because this shit bangs. Even Smash aside, we got some pretty huge announcements here with Pokemon, Mario Party, and Fire Emblem all making their first appearances on the console. Instant peak senior tier. That shit was gas. But 2018 isn't done just yet. Let's take a look at the September Direct of the year and hope I don't yap nearly as long as I did for this one. To open the final Direct of 2018, we saw an all-new Luigi's Mansion game announced for the Switch. It was a pretty short look at the game, and when compared to the final product, the graphics aren't nearly at the incredibly impressive levels we see at release, but that is to be expected when it's not even set to release for another year. Unfortunately though, it's time for more 3DS announcements, including Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, Luigi's Mansion 1 Remake, which grinds my gears to even think about because you could already play the original on the 3DS, so why not develop it for the Switch instead, where you don't have these games yet? Correction. I meant to say Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, but I just never said those string of words apparently. That's what I was referring to, because you can play Bowser's Inside Story already on the 3DS. From the DS version, you cannot play Luigi's Mansion 1 on the 3DS. I don't know what I was yapping about. But no, developing it for the 3DS resulted in the closure of the development team. And the fate of the series was unsure for a really long time. I'm not even a fan of this series. I haven't played one of these games. It's just stupid. Now, in retrospect, we can see that, there has been a new entry. This series isn't going anywhere, hopefully, but it still sucks to see a studio close. But that is more than enough talk about 3DS games for the Switch video. Splatoon 2 was up first with a trailer for its new update that showed pretty much nothing. Then, after 8 years of no new games, Mega Man 11 was announced for Switch, which was a pretty massive deal for fans. We saw some new characters added to Mario Tennis Aces, followed up by a brain tumor. That's right, Nintendo has decided that making a new entry in the new Super Mario Bros. Series would take even the slightest amount of effort, so they just decided, let's re-release New Super Mario Bros. U for Switch. But I don't even know why I bother hating, because it's the fucking 10th best-selling Switch game of all time, goddammit. The new characters it adds are just mindless baby mode. At least they follow this up with Katamari Damacy coming to Switch. That's pretty neat. Maybe they can bring this Nintendo Direct around.
More games, more features, more fun. Nintendo Switch Online.
Never mind, we are so fucked. Yeah, this is the Direct where Nintendo finally announced their subscription service plan they had been alluding to throughout the Nintendo Switch's life so far. This included online play, which was previously free for all users throughout the past almost 2 years of the Switch being a thing, 30-year-old NES games, cloud saves, which is a ridiculous thing to charge money for, access to their stupid-ass, dumbass smartphone app so they had an excuse to not have social features PlayStation and Xbox have had for over a decade now, and bonus features, which at the time was literally just being able to purchase NES controllers for the system. Thankfully, the service was only charged for $20, but Jesus Christ, the launch was an absolute nightmare. I remembered back in 2020, Nintendo would delete and re-upload the trailer for the service over and over again because it kept getting dislike bombed until YouTube's dumbass turned that shit off. After some new trailers of Pokemon Let's Go, Diablo 3, and Super Mario Party, we got a look at Game Freak's new RPG, their first non-Pokemon game in a long time. Now apparently this game's hot ass, but that's okay, at least they tried a little bit. Yoshi's Crafted World got its first real look at its gameplay and the backwards view of the course gimmick, which was apparently not utilized very well. I don't know though, for sure, I never played it. Xenoblade 2 Torna got a quick trailer before showing us a ton of Final Fantasy content coming to Switch, unfortunately almost all of which were watered down mobile ports. They closed out the Direct with a bit of a double announcement of sorts, first revealing Isabelle from Animal Crossing is coming to Smash, and that a new Animal Crossing is in development for the Switch. I think this Direct is going to be our next in the bad tier, but definitely above the other. Animal Crossing, Smash, and Luigi's Mansion were all pretty neat, but most of the other things were just kinda whatever, or Nintendo Switch Online, which was hell. Let's hope 2019 gifts us something better in the February 2019 Direct. We start off strong with an all-new Super Mario Maker for the Nintendo Switch, showcasing the new features and systems in the game, since we'll be working without the gamepad this time. This was one hell of a way to start off the Direct. Let's see how the rest of this thing holds up. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is announced as a Nintendo Switch exclusive after a long time of the series being dormant, so that was pretty surprising. But fuck off, Marvel, because Box Boy plus Box Girl's coming soon. We then move into a little Smash section where I can catch you up on the first DLC fighter that had been announced for the game, Joker from Persona 5. We then saw that Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age S Definitive Edition Deluxe HD Returns and Knuckles is coming to Switch. And then we got the closest thing we'll ever get to a Star Fox game on the Switch with Starlink, which features some characters from the series. Maybe if it wasn't a Toys to Life game, I'd give it a try. Burn Factory 5 was announced. I think people care about that. Yoshi's Crafted World got another brief trailer before a new Fire Emblem trailer. Ooh. What do they got in store? This trailer introduces us to the insane world building that this game was about to unleash on us. A lot of this trailer explains the world, introduces the branching paths in the game, gameplay in general, and what you can do in the hub world called Garreg Mach Monastery. The game looks a lot better than how it looked in the previous E3. And now with its release date of July, it was going to be released to the masses in due time. But fuck that, Tetris 99, bitch! Yeah, a Tetris Battle Royale for Switch Online members. What seems like a ludicrous concept, but one that works surprisingly well. Deltarune Chapter 1 and Hellblade were announced for the system, Final Fantasy VII finally made it over too, and we got a look at Astral Chain, a new IP from the makers of Bayonetta. But then we close out with a remake of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening from the Game Boy. You could definitely make the argument that this one should go in the mid-tier, but I refuse to associate anything involving Fire Emblem Three Houses with such an atrocious word. It makes its way into the good tier. Let's see if Nintendo's E3 2019 will hold a candle to last year's. We open with an intense Smash trailer that reveals that the hero from Dragon Age 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age S Definitive Edition Deluxe HD Returns and Knuckles is headed to Smash as the second DLC fighter. Not only that, but a few other Dragon Age protagonists appear as styles for the fighter. This immediately brings us to another trailer for Dragon Age 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age S Definitive Edition Deluxe HD returns in Knuckles. They then do this cute little gag about the new president of Nintendo of America's name being Bowser before he disappears from these altogether, and we pretty much never hear from him ever again. I guess following Reggie's legendary rap career was just too much for him to handle. We then got a new look at the Link's Awakening remake and their all-new Dungeon Maker, which is sadly the closest we've ever gotten to a Zelda Maker game, even to this day. But hey, The Witcher 3 is coming to the Switch, and that is pretty damn awesome. And then, Three Houses. I'm kind of mixed on this trailer, honestly. I think it does an exquisite job of showing that this is actually a pretty dark game, and not all sunshines and rainbows that the first few trailers could have made people believe. But spoiling not only the time skip, but the designs of the house leaders is kinda lame, as I think it's one of the biggest and best parts of the whole game. Though I completely understand that from a marketing standpoint, this was the right thing to do, and considering that this game still is the best-selling entry in the series, I can't be mad at this. We then saw that a bunch of Resident Evil games are making their way to the system, which is great to see. Then after almost a decade, No More Heroes 3 was finally announced to come out in 2020. So far, the Switch generation has successfully brought back older IP that have laid dormant time and time again, and it's awesome to see. We then got a look at Pokemon Sword and Shield, which was previously announced in a Pokemon Direct, as all main series games kind of are, so unfortunately for me, I can't really whine about this game being mid. Also, Pokeball Plus gang, do I have news for you? You can't use it as a controller, but you can put a Pokemon in it and shake it to hear its cry. We then got a far more in-depth look at Astral Chain. From what I heard, this game is just kind of whatever, but then we got a new trailer for Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Then, to everyone's surprise, we got a new Zelda crossover, with the makers of Crypt of the Necrodancer being Cadence of Hyrule. Quite the quirky but interesting title, and looks like a very unique combination of action and rhythm games. But I know what you're all thinking, where's Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games on the Switch? We've all been asking for it. Everyone has, obviously. And to you I say, well, here you go. Shut the fuck up now, please. Animal Crossing saved us from the mediocrity when we caught a glimpse of the new game. This time around, we're on a deserted island and have to craft items using the resources on the island to build up the town. Also, unironically, the trailer music is also so fucking nostalgic I got chills rewatching it. Now for the first of the last two announcements, we open up with Donkey Kong, Diddy, no, not that one, you psycho, and K. Rool in the Donkey Kong Treehouse, in the same way they were for the King K. Rool reveal trailer. Then all of a sudden, a puzzle piece comes flying in, and we see that motherfucking Banjo-Kazooie's coming to Smash? The madmen did it again! No one thought it would ever happen, but here they are in Smash. But we still have one final announcement, which wound up being the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, one of the most universally acclaimed games of all time. I have absolutely no problem putting this one in the peak senior tier. While it may not be as good as the last E3, there was still plenty to love and be hype about here. We still have one more direct to close out 2019 with, so let's see what they've got in store for us. We start things off with Overwatch coming to Nintendo Switch. Now, personally, I don't really care, but I'm sure several people out there were pretty happy with this. We then got our final trailer for Luigi's Mansion 3, showcasing its distinct themed floors of the hotel. This then brings us to a small little eShop Kirby game in Super Kirby Clash, which is essentially just a co-op boss rush game. Banjo-Kazooie was shadow dropped for Smash the same day as the Direct, which is awesome to see, with an in-depth overview of the character by Sakurai coming right after the Direct. But before we can move on, we actually got the next DLC fighter reveal here. They decided to give the SNK some love and unveiled that the latest character is Terry from Fatal Fury. Definitely the least exciting character for me thus far, but it's still hard to be upset when we just got Banjo-Kazooie. They then announced that a second Fighter's Pass is also in development. We also got a final Link's Awakening trailer before bringing us to a port of Tokyo Mirage Sessions to the Switch. Sure, Doom 64 was announced for the Switch right before showcasing the Wild Area in Pokemon Sword and Shield, a bit of an experimental open world area in the game. We then finally got a new system on NSO, being the SNES. There's no reason this should have taken them a year other than just for the sake of drip feeding us the bare minimum, but you know what, at least it's here. All one Mario and Sonic fans got a look at the retro-themed minigames before everyone else moved on and forgot the game came out. We then got a little sizzle reel showing some upcoming games, such as the famed Farming Simulator 20. They then took us into a little bit of a deep dive of Animal Crossing New Horizons, taking us through mechanics like crafting, Nook Miles, and hinting at the focus on customization that this game has. But to close it all out, Nintendo unveiled Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition to us, finally taking the game off the Wii and into the modern age. And of course, the Pyro body pillows came right out of those closets that fated day. I think I'm feeling in the middle of mid-tier for this one. Outside of the Smash stuff, Animal Crossing, and Xenoblade, nothing else was really a big deal, as a lot of the stuff shown here was already announced or was a smaller thing like Super Kirby Clash or the Tokyo Mirage Sessions port. Well, moving into 2020, it was a very odd year in general, but especially for Nintendo, as we only saw Nintendo Direct Minis, and all but one were partner showcases thanks to COVID. I remember at the time thinking that the Direct Minis were mostly terrible, so I'm interested to see what my opinion will be now. Starting off with the only non-partner showcase in March, we open with a new trailer for Xenoblade Definitive Edition, in which the British guy who's really feeling it yaps about robot shit. We're also told about a new epilogue for the game called Future Connected, which is pretty damn neat. We're then shown that BioShock, Borderlanders, and XCOM are all coming to the platform in May, which is really nice. We're then shown the Easter update for Animal Crossing New Horizons before being thrown into Nintendo's latest casual game, Ring Fit Adventure. It's essentially a rhythm workout game, which is a pretty unique idea that really only Nintendo could come up with. Nintendo then decides to blue ball us by telling us that the next Smash character will be from ARMS, and that's about it. That was all they could share for now, since the development on the character was falling behind due to, obvious reasons. It was actually pretty fun to speculate who the character was going to be, and since Nintendo right after announced that there was going to be a game trial for ARMS, I got to play with my friends and we all got to try out the characters and speculate which one it was going to be, and it was a really good time. We then got a pretty beefy look at Bravely Default 2 before Nintendo decided enough was enough and it was time to bring out a new Clubhouse games to the masses. Another legacy IP many thought Nintendo had just abandoned was Revive This Generation, which has gladly become commonplace on the Switch. The rest of the mini was dedicated to part 1 of the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, showcasing the new wild area that the game takes place in, and the new Gigantamax forms. This one's gonna come in at the bottom of the mid-tier. It just doesn't really have anything of substance when compared to the past directs, but now it's time to skip ahead to July, when the first of many partner showcases transpired. Firstly, I would just want to mention how this Direct Mini is only 8 minutes long. Let's hope they have some good announcements, because otherwise what are we doing here? Firstly, we get some new Cadence of Hyrule DLC, which is separated into different packs, with Pack 1 being released the same day as the presentation. Kinda neat, but far from a showstopper. We then get a trailer for fucking Rogue Company. I completely forgot this game came out. I can't think of a game that's just disappeared like this game has. It's insane. And if that wasn't enough for you, we got WWE 2K Battlegrounds, which looks like absolute fucking dog shit. I mean, seriously, this game looks like a shitty mobile game. At least we got a Shin Megami Tensei 3 remaster, and finally a look at Shin Megami Tensei 5, which was announced all the way back when the Switch was first announced, but it really didn't show anything. That was the Direct. This was the most pointless Direct Nintendo has ever done. It feels like they only did this because people wanted a new Nintendo Direct, and since E3 was cancelled this year, but man, This one has got to go in Concord tier. SMT and Cadence of Hyrule are neat support games for a Direct, but when the only two other games here are fucking Rogue Company, a free-to-play game, and fucking WWE 2K Battlegrounds, yeah, you don't stand a fucking chance. We've still got 3 more of these to go, so let's hope things get better with the next months. No, I never thought it would happen, but it did. Kingdom Hearts is on the Nintendo Switch. Oh, sorry. I meant Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, the Rhythm spin-off game. Why would we bring the main series over? That'd be fucking stupid. Speaking of rhythm games, we got Fuser next, an indie DJ game. I gotta give them credit for having scored some actual songs in this game, but I'm sorry, nothing about this game even looks the slightest bit appealing. We do get a new Taiko game collection, which is actually pretty neat. What's with all the rhythm shit, though? World of Tanks, too, huh? My favorite rhythm game. Can you uninstall the game to the beat of the music? There's also this Creed game that looks like fucking mashed potatoes. What the fuck's going on here? Well, on a far more positive note, the Final Fantasy Legends series from the Game Boy is coming to the Switch, which is a pretty damn neat novelty. But is it as neat as the 12th mainline Just Dance? I don't think so. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 got announced, which definitely has its appeal, but it's just more of the same. They close out with a couple of brief looks at new games before closing it out. Despite not being as atrocious as last partner showcase, this one is most certainly going to be in the Concord tier as well. It's still only 11 minutes long, and again, didn't have anything worth getting hyped for. Let's just hope September can turn things around. Much to my surprise, they opened things up with a bang with Monster Hunter Rise, which was, at the time, a Nintendo Switch exclusive entry in the franchise. They did it. And actually big and an exciting game for a partner showcase? And they follow this up with Monster Hunter Stories 2, a game that's not anticipated to release for another year, but still a huge win. They follow this up with Fitness Boxing 2, a series Nintendo has been supporting throughout the Switch's life so that they don't have to be the ones to make the casual games. They follow this up with whatever a Disgaea is. Am I even saying that right? Probably not. We also get looks at Empire of Sin, Sniper Elite 4, just kind of whatever. They then go into a sizzle reel of sorts showing PGA Tour 2K21, which I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but it looks better than most games here. Not graphically, because no, but in general it does. For whatever reason, Hades was held off for the sizzle reel despite it being one of the biggest games from this year, but at least it's here. And it's releasing the same day as the Direct, which is always some fun bonus points. Unfortunately, it can't all be sunshines and rainbows because next up is Balan fucking Wonderworld. This game was a fucking disaster, and I can't believe Square Enix actually published this mess. Hey, it's Rune Factory 5, I still don't care, but I know other people do. We still have one more announcement though to close things off, and much to the shock of everyone watching, the Ori games actually made it to Nintendo Switch. Man, Xbox sure loves Nintendo if they're willing to put Banjo and Smash, but also these games on their platform. Believe it or not, this has actually landed itself in the good tier. While it definitely has its nothing burgers and the tragedy that is Balan Wonderworld, there were several great announcements here too that more than make up for it. Let's see if October can surpass it or if it'll crumble under the pressure. We start things off with a Bravely Default 2 trailer. It's been a while since we last saw the game, so it's pretty fair to open with it. We then got a trailer for Generic Farm Game 293 before being shown Generic Zombie Strategy Survival Game 102. We then saw Immortals Phoenix Rising, a game that clearly is inspired by Breath of the Wild, and I remember every YouTuber was getting sponsored to play, so naturally I didn't ever trust it and never played it myself, but I appreciate the Greek mythology inspiration in the game, and it helps give it a bit of its own identity. We then see a scissor reel starting off with a Bakugan game in the year 2020. What the fuck? Actually, I swear I remember this game being so heavily discussed around this time because of like leaks or something. I can't exactly remember why, I just remember it coming up a lot for some reason. What was almost interesting is that Hitman 3 was coming to the Switch, but unfortunately as a cloud version, meaning the game is streamed to you and doesn't actually run on the system hardware. The problem is how it requires a strong and stable internet connection, or else the game will either have major input lag or maybe just be straight up unplayable. And what do you know, the very next game has the exact same issue with control. What could have been such a cool announcement gets soured so easily just by having those two little words in the subtitle. At least we finally got a new look at No More Heroes 3 next, as well as the first two games being ported to the console as well, both of which were shadow dropped the same day. A new puzzle game from HAL where you play as a UFO was unveiled, which, I mean, fair enough. But the real star of the show is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. We get a sneak peek at the story and gameplay, but the big news is that a demo was dropped the same day as the Direct. I was originally going to put this at the end of mid-tier, but honestly, nothing here is exciting besides Hyrule Warriors. Everything else is mid at best, and the cloud games do literally nothing positive here. That's why it's going at the top of bad tier. Well, at least we're finally moving into 2021 with the return of regular Directs, so let's hope for something good. Our first Direct back made sure to give the Gooners a win, opening up with Pyra and Mithra joining the Smash roster. We all expected Rex to be the Xenoblade 2 rep for this game, but they decided to surprise us with this 2-in-1 package instead. And honestly, jokes aside, they're pretty damn fun in this game. Following this announcement, Fall Guys was announced for the Switch, 1 year too late if you ask me, but it still feels right at home on Nintendo consoles. Outer Wilds was then announced for the platform as well, bringing us into a shocking retro revival of the Famicom Detective Club series with 2 remakes of the old games. I'm a big fan of quite a few visual novels, so I might have to give these games a go one day. We got a new trailer for Monster Hunter Rise before following it up with an all-new Mario Golf game. It took Nintendo 3 years to make another Mario sports game, and unsurprisingly they went with golf again, but I guess I can understand why. We got another quick look at No More Heroes 3, a trailer for Neon White, which I've heard extremely good things about, and of course none other than Game of the Year DC Superhero Girls Teen Power, published by Nintendo. Another out of left field surprise was Miitopia being ported to Switch. While I was always a fan of Tamagotchi Life, I never actually got into Miitopia on the 3DS, so I picked it up on the Switch and enjoyed it quite a bit, even if the game is incredibly repetitive. We got some cool Mario themed items and an Animal Crossing update for the 35th anniversary of the Mario franchise before revealing to the world the next game from the people behind Octopath Traveler, Project Triangle Strategy. Please God, actually change the name this time. What the fuck is that? The Ninja Gaiden trilogy was announced to be ported to the Switch before getting a look at Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity DLC. Speaking of Zelda though, we got the reveal and pretty in-depth look at The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, as well as the updated control schemes that they added to the game. But to close it all out, we ended on our first look at Splatoon 3, giving a brief look at customization and a new system at the start of matches where you aim where you want to land on the map. We're gonna put this one right in the middle of good tier. It's got a ton of surprises here, and of course, DC Superhero Girls Teen Power published by Nintendo. This brings us to the final Nintendo E3 presentation we'll probably ever see, even if we didn't know it at the time. Let's see how this turned out. The final E3 opens up with our next Smash reveal, this time being Kazuya from Tekken. In my opinion, one of the most whatever picks so far. I never played Tekken, so that definitely doesn't help, but outside of Ryu, I also just haven't found these types of characters' inclusions to be anything crazy. Now, if they put Scorpion in the game, then we'd have a different story. Following this, we got 3 Life is Strange games announced for the Switch, and then, whoa! Guardians of the Galaxy on the Switch? That is a crazy cool pull to see running on Switch 1. Surely there is no strings attached with this one, like say, I don't know, being a cloud version? That's exactly what it is. But you know what? Who fucking cares? 'Cause Monkey Ball is back, bitch! Banana Mania is a remake of the first 3 Monkey Balls, which is real neat to see, especially considering that the game is actually good. This was then followed up by Mario Party Superstars, which similarly remade maps and minigames from the past Mario Parties. So basically what Mario Party the Top 100 should have been. Then Nintendo casually name drops Metroid Prime 4. Wait, what the fuck's going on? They're gonna show us a new Metroid game already? I can't believe they're showing us Metroid 5 before Metroid 4. Holy shit, a new 2D Metroid game. The first new one since Metroid Fusion back on the GBA. The game looks gorgeous and these creepy robots seem like an exciting way to up the tension. Then at the end of the trailer, they reveal the name Metroid Dread, the long assumed canned game originally in development for the DS is finally coming to fruition on the Switch. Oh my god, and Just Dance 2022? We are eating this year! We got some new trailers for both Mario Golf Super Rush and Monster Hunter Stories 2 before an all-new WarioWare was announced. This entry focuses on multiplayer microgames with a bunch of different playable characters with unique abilities. Then, right after that announcement, we finally got our first in-depth look at Shin Megami Tensei 5, giving us a brief look at the story and combat of the game. It's been a long road since it was announced, so it's great to see it. Then, to the surprise of absolutely no one because Nintendo leaked it themselves, a new Mario plus Rabbids game was announced, and I can't believe this is turning into an actual franchise. We also saw a remake of the original Advance Wars 1 and 2, now for the Switch, announced to be coming in December of 2021, and it came out in April 2023, thanks Russia. We closed out E3 with a ton of Zelda news, starting with Hyrule Warriors DLC, another look at Skyward Sword HD, and a neat little announcement for a Zelda-themed Game & Watch for the 35th anniversary. But finally, after long last, our first real look at the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is here. They still wouldn't reveal the name, but we got a look at these floating islands in the sky and some new powers Link will have access to during his adventure. We're gonna put this one at the end of Peak Senior. Nintendo just knows how to cook with their E3 press conferences. Honestly, Metroid Dread's amazing announcement alone solidified it, and at the very least the good tier, but when paired with all these other great announcements, it makes it to Peak Senior tier. If we had a Smash reveal for a character I could get excited for, this probably could have overtaken E3 2019, but for now, we'll just have to say farewell to E3 and head to the final Direct of the year. The September Direct opens up with a tease for Monster Hunter Rise DLC entitled Sunbreak. It doesn't really give us too much to go off of though. They then gave us an overview of the upcoming Mario Party Superstars and the boards they didn't already reveal to us. Then we got a short little trailer for Hyrule Warriors DLC before being gifted an announcement for an announcement. They were going to do a separate presentation to announce and show off the final Smash Ultimate DLC fighter, so you don't have to hear me bitch about how it isn't Waluigi despite him already being an assist trophy. We were then gifted a very pleasant surprise in the first 3D platformer Kirby game entitled Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It showed off its beautiful and colorful environments while holding many of its cards close to its chest. We were going to have to wait to be blessed with Kirby Car. They then dropped an Animal Crossing trailer for the long requested cafe The Roost to make its way to the game, and I'm sorry, but this is way too little, way too late. It was almost 2022, and I'm glad that fans got what they asked for, but I was way past caring for the game at this point. We got some new characters for Mario Golf before being cursed with another Cloud version, this time being Dying Light 2. I don't know why they keep making these, it just takes all the excitement out of what could have been a sick announcement. We were then cursed with the final name for the Project Triangle strategy game being Triangle Motherfucking Strategy. Someone fire whoever came up with this name. Nintendo must have known we were in the trenches at this point because they absolutely blessed us with a new Metroid Dread trailer giving us some backstory for why Samus is on the mission she's currently embarked on, all the while continually hinting at the badass boss fights to come and general gorgeousness to the visuals. And then Nintendo said, fuck you, pay us $50 to play more ass old games. They announced a new tier to Nintendo Switch Online, which would come with Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games. The Genesis being included is kinda neat, but you can already buy the Sega Genesis Classics collection on the system for only $40, and then you don't have to wait for them to drip feed you a game every month or two. It's actually ridiculous. Now, yes, I am glad that they added N64, but I just cannot be asked to pay $50 for this. Especially when it only had 9 fucking games at launch. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. They showed Banjo-Kazooie among the games coming to the service in the future, which is fucking awesome. But I still just can't be asked to play. I'll just resort to other measures. Let's just be honest with ourselves. N64 games did not age very well and aren't worth a $50 upgrade. At least we got the Chris Pratt Mario announcement this direct. Holy shit, this was a day in history. The whole cast actually did a pretty good job in the movie, but that doesn't make this picture any less funny. We then got to see a new Splatoon trailer showcasing new abilities and weapons, as well as a sneak peek at the campaign involving the Squid Sisters. The direct then closed out, finally giving us a look at Bayonetta 3, another game that was announced way back in 2017, and we just hadn't heard of anything since. It was great to finally see it here, even if the voice actress change came with inevitable controversy. This one lands at the bottom of mid-tier. It was almost in bad tier, but then I remembered the Kirby trailer, and that shit was gas. That alongside Bayonetta 3 were really the only big deals here, with none of the other positives being anything mind-blowing and just new looks at things we already knew about. The NSO expansion pack really left a sour taste in my mouth. Even though it's optional, I just can't get myself to agree with Nintendo's greedy business practices. 2021 was one of the most consistent years thus far though, so let's see if 2022 can do the same. The first direct of 2022 opens up with could it be? Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, another Warriors spin-off with Fire Emblem characters, but this time exclusively focusing on the cast of 3 houses. The graphics, specifically the lighting, looks amazing when compared to 3 houses, and we can even see some of the new designs for the house leaders. This game just kinda ended up being alright. The multiple paths were cool at first, but made repeat playthroughs more and more boring. But we then got a new Advance Wars trailer with a new release date for April 8th, which I'll give Nintendo credit for. Now they're only a year off. Then, after a No Man's Sky trailer, to the surprise of everyone, a new Mario Strikers game got announced. It had been about 15 years since Strikers charged on the Wii, so it's great to see that after all these years Nintendo decided to pull the trigger and release a non-tennis or golf Mario sports game. Unfortunately, the game itself wound up being pretty lackluster with hardly any content because they were so focused on creating a competitive scene for the game that I don't even think ever took off. We then saw a new look at Splatoon 3's Salmon Run updates that differentiated from 2's, and we saw Chrono Cross being ported as well. This then brought us to the final Kirby in the Forgotten Land trailer, where they finally blessed us with not just Kirby Car, but also Kirby Vending Machine and Kirby Traffic Cone. They also showcased some of the evolved abilities in the game and some boss fights. Nintendo then stopped everything to let us know that a PlayStation game was coming to the Switch via MLB The Show 22. Honestly, a pretty damn notable moment in gaming history. Then Nintendo announced that the Kingdom Hearts games were coming to Switch. Finally. Surely Disney wouldn't lazily port them through cloud versions, son of a bitch! At least Portal 1 and 2 were announced for the platform. That's awesome to have portably. Later we got a look at the Live Alive remake before getting an all-new Wii Sports successor in Nintendo Switch Sports, featuring these ugly non-Miis. What the fuck is that? While it is kinda neat to have, this game released missing Wii Sports series mainstays like golf, which we wouldn't even get for several months to come. I also never really cared much about this series though, so I can do without. We then got the announcement that Earthbound was finally heading to NSO alongside Earthbound Beginnings. We were then shown the replacement for Smash reveals with the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. This DLC pass would allow for more tracks to be added to the game alongside new characters. Wave 1 was announced to bring over Coconut Mall, Choco Mountain, Tokyo Blur, and more. This was a pretty smart way to have something continually for these Nintendo Directs for everyone to look forward to, even if these remastered tracks look like ass compared to the regular game. The pass is also included in the NSO expansion pack though, which is actually really neat and helps give the $50 price tag more substance behind it. This leads us to the Direct's final announcement, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The trailer gave us some brief glimpses at the characters and story, and the weebs rejoiced and whipped back out their Pyra body pillows. Overall, a pretty damn good Direct. Even the more negative aspects of the Direct have some positive aspects to them besides the Kingdom Hearts Cloud versions. I'd argue this one tops even E3 2017. Speaking of E3, since that's over, Nintendo opted to do another partner showcase in June. Let's see what the third parties got for us. We open up with a Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak trailer giving one last look at some of the gameplay and story, with it being just a few days from release with a free update coming in August. Nier Automata was then announced for Switch with no cloud version because they just gangster like that. This is a really cool title for the Switch to have, but you know what isn't? Super Bomberman R2. Did you remember that this came out? Because I sure didn't. The original game released when the Switch launched, and there were very few titles for the console, which resulted in the game selling pretty damn well. Probably made Konami think a sequel was a good idea. It wasn't. No one talks about this game. Mega Man Battle Legacy Collection is a pretty damn neat collection of a unique era of Mega Man's history, which is cool to see on modern platforms. We also then got a Pac-Man World remake announcement, Return to Monkey Island trailer, and a few others before seeing Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope with a pretty in-depth trailer detailing the updates to combat in the sequel. We then saw Sonic Frontiers, which I personally would never bet on running well on the Switch, and trailers for Live Alive, Minecraft Legends, and reminders that Fire Emblem Warriors is out, and that No Man's Sky and Portal are on the way. The show went all out at the end though, with the announcement that Persona 5 Royal, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 3 Portable were all coming to the platform. It's crazy it took so long despite Joker being smashed for years at this point, but we're finally here. I'm feeling a very similar story to the March 2018 Direct here, where the Direct was most certainly going to be in the mid-tier if it wasn't for that amazing final reveal. Although still not quite as huge, so it finds itself at the end of good tier. Let's see if the final Direct of 2022 can do better. We start things off with another Fire Emblem game with a key focus on past characters from the series titled Fire Emblem Engage. The art style is way more weeb than Three Houses, but in general the graphics shown look gorgeous. We only catch brief glimpses of things like the hub world and combat, but there's quite a bit intriguing here. They followed this up with an It Takes Two announcement coming to Switch, which is awesome to see as so many people fell in love with that game. We then got some updates for Xenoblade 3 DLC and Splatoon 3 updates, before the reveal of Octopath Traveler 2. No need for project in this title. Arguably even more beautiful visuals this time around. Alright everyone, put the fucking picket signs down, I get it, Fae Farm was announced for the Switch. We got our last trailer for Mario plus Rabbids 2, offering a look at the game's new systems before being shown the upcoming slate for N64 games on NSO featuring Mario Party 1 through 3, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, and racing games like Excite Bike 64. But that's not all. GoldenEye was then shown to be coming to the service, which is another insane get. Negotiating with both Xbox and the James Bond rights holders could not have been easy, but they actually pulled it off. Mario Strikers Battle League showed off 2 new characters, and that's it because this game has no content. Wave 3 of the Mario Kart Booster Pass was next, revealing Merry Mountain and Peach Gardens for the next wave, and keeping everything else a mystery. We finally got that golf update for Nintendo Switch Sports, but I think everyone already moved on by now. Miyamoto then came on camera to dick around about the Pikmin mobile game before finally giving the people what they want, and finally announcing Pikmin 4, and holy fucking shit does this game look absolutely gorgeous. Quite possibly the best looking game on the Switch. All that was really told to us about the game was that the camera would be more behind the player than above the player this time around. But this was all fans really needed after a decade of almost no news on this game. Bayonetta 3 had a brief trailer that ended in an advertisement for a longer trailer that was already out. Cool. Resident Evil 7 and 8 cloud versions were announced. That's all I have to say about that. For the last two announcements, we saw Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe announced, which means that the Switch got an actually good basic 2D Kirby game. This game was remade for Kirby's 30th anniversary, which is pretty damn neat. But you know what else is neat? A new teaser for the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and we finally got the name revealed, Tears of the Kingdom. And on top of that, a release date. This one's also going in the good tier, a little bit above the last direct. It didn't necessarily have anything too crazy that we hadn't already seen, but enough to keep plenty of interest in upcoming releases. Heading into 2023, let's check out the February direct. We open up with our first real look at Pikmin 4, showing us our first look at gameplay, new Pikmin, and a fucking dog. The new camera angle also seems to justify its existence, not necessarily for any gameplay reason, but just on a creative level, it seems to have changed how they attack the world design. Then brings us to a short trailer for Xenoblade 3 DLC, as well as a look at Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, a game from the DS being ported, made by the people who made Ace Attorney. Then for some fucking reason, Bayonetta Origins was announced, which plays absolutely nothing like the trilogy, but I mean, sure, I guess. We then got an announcement for the Splatoon 3 expansion pass, the first wave of which is legit just the lobby from the first game. They charged $25 for this. Then they followed it up with a Nothing Burger trailer for the DLC campaign, which the only thing noteworthy about this is how there's literally nothing noteworthy about it. Fire Emblem Engage also had an expansion pass DLC announcement for new emblems coming to the game, with Hector and Chrom and Robin being the standouts here. We got some brief trailers for Octopath Traveler 2, Katamari, and Sea of Stars before getting a new Advance Wars trailer reminding everyone that yes, this game still isn't out. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe showcased an all-new epilogue mode featuring Magolor trying to regain his powers, and a demo was announced for the game. But it was also announced that both Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games are coming to Switch Online, finally. The original Game Boy is added to the base tier, with Advance coming to the expansion pack, really fleshing out both tiers. It's really easy to hate on NSO when they launch something, but they're very good at adding that value, even if it takes them, arguably, in my opinion, way too long. Then out of nowhere, they dropped Metroid Prime Remastered on us. The original game on the GameCube already looked good for the time, but this remaster makes the game downright beautiful for today's standards. This was such an awesome announcement to see, with Prime 4 most definitely on the horizon. Surely they'll do the same for Prime 2 and 3, they still haven't said a word about those games. Even take a port of them, please Nintendo. I don't care that I bought them on my Wii U and deleted a ton of system storage to download them only to never play them. Let me buy them again. We got a short little teaser for a new Professor Layton game. Then we got our Mario Kart Wave 4 news with tracks featuring a brand new Yoshi's Island course, but also a new character with Birdo. I really like tickling my nuts with these. It's hard to talk about them when they keep so much about each wave a secret. Then again, this video's long enough, so I guess I won't complain. They close out the direct with another Tears of the Kingdom trailer, this time giving us far more to sink our teeth into than the last one. We see a lot more of the world, but also the gameplay hinting at all the things you could build, with that new gauntlet on his hand. Now just a few months from launch, hype was through the roof. This one's going in the good tier, right above E3 2017. Heading into June, let's see what Nintendo's answer for not having a traditional E3 is. We open up with a look at the DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Pokemon have been pretty much doing their own thing, so I haven't really had many opportunities to say anything about the games, but I will have to say that Scarlet and Violet, despite hardly functioning, are the most fun I've had with a Pokemon game since Generation 6. Being able to run around the map with all my friends made for an experience I'll never forget. Now, I've never actually played the DLC, so I can't really comment on this, but what I can comment on is the trailer, and the first half is dedicated to part 1 of the DLC showing the new explorable map, with a few new Pokemon, and also hinting at this teal mask Pokemon, which the wave is named after. Part 2 is focused on another map broken into 4 sections with 4 different biomes, named after a Pokemon that looks like an indigo disc. We then saw the announcement of Sonic Superstars, a new 2D entry focusing on multiplayer. Apparently this game wasn't very good though, so that's unfortunate but not unsurprising. Persona 5 was announced to have a tactical RPG spin-off via Persona 5 Tactica. However, the world just wasn't ready for Detective Pikachu's return. I unironically really enjoyed the original game on 3DS, and I honestly thought about picking this one up, but after reading all the incredibly mediocre reviews and the fact I've simply grown up and moved on, I didn't really care enough and moved on and forgot it came out. Maybe one day I'll pick it up on sale or something, if only Nintendo games knew what that word meant. Then, out of nowhere, a Mario RPG remake from the SNES was announced, with fully 3D animated cutscenes, really bringing new life into the game. They then showed a 2-second teaser for a Princess Peach game before announcing an HD remaster for Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Then the Batman Arkham Trilogy was announced to be coming to Switch, which is awesome. All without cloud versions too, which you truly love to see it. They gave a look at Mario plus Rabbids DLC before dropping a new Pikmin 4 trailer, giving a bit of an overview to the gameplay loop of Pikmin, and showing more new features for the game like the nighttime events in Glow Pikmin. They then immediately announced an HD port for Pikmin 1 and 2, which is pretty damn neat. Why can't Metroid Prime 2 and 3 get this if they're not remastering them? Oh wait, maybe I just answered my own question. A Metal Gear Solid collection was announced for the platform as well as Vampire Survivors. We then got our Mario Kart Wave 5 news with a new track and squeaky clean sprint. As for new characters, we got PD Piranha, Wiggler, and Kamek. It's actually awesome to see Kamek finally in a mainline entry after he got cut out of 64 way back when. Another WarioWare was announced focusing more on motion controls in this one, and ending off the direct, we got a brand new 2D Mario entry that just wasn't some shitty new Super Mario Bros. Game. Wonder's art style is great and finally gave the 2D Mario game some fucking personality again. Go off the Wonder Flower and hit at the wacky hijinks that'll come with activating them in each level. You can also play as a ton of characters in this one too. Another very good direct. I'd put this one just behind E3 2017, but honestly it could also probably go above it too. We have one final direct left in 2023, so let's see what they have in store for us. We open up with Splatoon 3 DLC actually giving us something to work with and understanding what the fuck it even is. Honestly, it doesn't even really show that much, but the tiny bit it does show is better than the last direct. We then saw the announcement for a remake of the GBA's Mario vs. Donkey Kong game, a pretty odd game to remake, but I can see why they went for it. $50 for this game is fucking insane when Metroid Prime Remastered is $40. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was announced for the system, which is great and feels right at home, being a Metroidvania and all. We then got a new Mario RPG trailer focusing on the gameplay of the game, and later we got a look at that Princess Peach game, which feels kinda like if you made a minigame collection into a story mode. Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remasters were announced for Switch, and we got a new Detective Pikachu trailer. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon was retitled to Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. This game further complicates the pricing bullshit I was just talking about, because how is this remaster $60 when Metroid Prime is $40, the obviously higher quality game? Probably because they know what they can and can't get away with, and selling Metroid Prime Remastered for $40 has it a higher chance of succeeding. But still, it is a way higher quality game than Luigi's Mansion 2. Technically, I haven't played Luigi's Mansion 2, but that's not important. Nintendo then unveiled a Nintendo museum they're working on. Then Nintendo put on their troll faces by making us think they were going to make a new F-Zero game, which was foolish of us to think, because instead they're turning the original into a battle royale with F-Zero 99. At least they're doing something with this IP. That's more than Star Fox can say. After some more trailers for stuff like WarioWare and Dave the Diver, we got the final wave of Mario Kart DLC, where they announced that Daisy Circuit is coming back alongside Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, Pauline, and Peachette for some fucking reason. They announced a new Among Us map 3 years way too late before closing out with Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door remake. Fans had wanted the series to go back to this style for so long that they just straight up remade it. Unfortunately, I'm not one of the people who is clamoring for this game to be remade or remastered or ported or anything. I just never really cared for Paper Mario. We're putting this one at the top of mid-tier. The Thousand Year Door may carry it for some, but it just does nothing for me. I feel the same way about Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Luigi's Mansion 2, and Princess Peach Showtime. Honestly, I'd say Prince of Persia was the highlight of this direct, or maybe the Mario Kart DLC, but with that, we are headed into the final year of directs for the Nintendo Switch in 2024. You can tell we're nearing the end because 2 of these are partner showcases. Let's see what the first one has to announce. We start off with Grounded, another Xbox game coming to other platforms, which was just the beginning of Xbox's new plan this year. We then got a remaster of Monster Hunter Stories 1, and follow this up with Epic Mickey Rebrushed, a Disney game classic from the Wii. Then saw DLC for Shin Megami Tensei 5, Star Wars Battlefront Collection, South Park Snow Day, and eventually the announcement of a brand new Monkey Ball game in Banana Rumble. It has a new spin dash mechanic allowing for new shortcuts and tricks to be possible. I honestly completely forgot this game came out, so I never picked it up, but I might have to get it one of these days. We then got trailers for Another Crab's Treasure and Penny's Big Breakaway and quite a few other games before some NSO updates came out. And I don't want to call these pointless, but other than Killer Instinct and Battletoads, who cares about these games? We end on Endless Ocean Luminos, another revival from the Wii era, this time featuring a procedurally generated ocean, so each dive is different from the last, but overall, meh. Everything just kind of falls into the, I mean, okay, why not category, but nothing here was mind-blowing. This one's going in the mid-tier as well. It didn't have as many negatives as, say, the September 2021 Direct, though, so it goes above that. Now it's time for the final regular Switch 1 Direct. Let's see how Nintendo caps this thing off first party wise. We open up with a real pleasant surprise being Mario and Luigi Brothership. We all kinda assumed the series had been done when Alpha Dream shut down, but we're finally back with a brand new entry this time, not being on the 3DS. Even though many have regarded this game as not as good as its predecessors, I'm just glad we have a new one at all. They then announced Nintendo World Championships NES Edition for some fucking reason. Nintendo Switch Sports Basketball update, anyone? What do you mean you don't care anymore? Nintendo then revealed the re-release of Donkey Kong Country Returns again! I am glad it's on the Switch, but at the same time, just give us a new Donkey Kong Country game. It's been like 10 years now. Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 HD 2D remakes were announced using the beautiful sprite work art style seen in games like Octopath Traveler, but I know what you're all thinking. If only there was a way to play a shitty game with all my Funko Pops. Funko Fusion! Yes! After a short Luigi's Mansion 2 trailer, we got some NSO updates including Zelda 4 Swords, Metroid Zero Mission, Turok, and Perfect Dark, a pretty stacked lineup. Another huge shocker was Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. Everyone just kinda assumed the series was dead in the water since the company seemed to have bad blood for a while, but they must have sorted things out because this is a huge fucking deal. Later we saw a new Mario Party announced with not only new maps, but some returning ones as well. We then saw the announcement of a new 2D Zelda with the Link's Awakening art style called Echoes of Wisdom, this time around where you play as Zelda instead of Link. They showed off this game's unique spell system, which allows for creative answers to battles and world traversal. LEGO Horizon Adventures was revealed for Switch here, which Sony wasn't even forced to do this time, they just wanted to do it. Dre was announced for the system before my personal favorite announcement of the Direct, the Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, meaning the second game will be localized in English for the very first time. I still haven't finished the Apollo Justice games, so I haven't gotten to these yet, but you best bet I'm excited to play these. And then, to close it all out with a bang, Nintendo finally shows gameplay for Metroid Prime 4. And oh my god, it looks phenomenal. The game looks so good it sparked debate on whether this is running on Switch 1 or Switch 2 hardware. The end of the trailer confirmed the full name of the game is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. good fucking shit, Nintendo. I can't think of a better spot for this direct than the bottom of peak senior tier. What we all expected to be a bit of a nothing burger wound up being an incredible showing for the future, and plus it has Funko Fusion. Was there ever truly any doubt? The final direct is half an indie world, half partner showcase, so we're just gonna skip right to the partner showcase section of the presentation. This section starts with a Tetris collection for the 40th anniversary. It's packed with quite a few games, which is kinda neat. Goat Simulator 3 was announced for the system here, as well as a new fitness boxing game and Capcom fighting collection. After a short Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D trailer, we got a Castlevania collection announcement. Then we got Sid Meier's Civilization 7 announced, as well as Har 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 Har, Help Wanted 2, and Security Breach. The last two announcements of the direct were Rune Factory and Yakuza Kiwami. Is that how you say that? I have no fucking idea. Both of which definitely have their fans, but honestly I couldn't really care less. This one's going right behind the last partner showcase, just kinda whatever. But that summarizes all the Nintendo Switch directs. There is a rumor that there could be one final Switch 1 direct sometime in February, but seeing as there's going to be a Switch 2 direct in April, I'm betting against that. But if I'm wrong, I will leave a pinned comment on where in the tier list that direct will go. Speaking of, here is our finalized tier list we made. Feel free to comment down below how much of a stupid fucking idiot I am for dick riding 3 houses. But while you're at it, you should subscribe to the channel. I mean, you've sat through my yapping for this long, you know you kinda like me. So help me reach 1K so I can continue towards my dream of dropping out of college. This is obviously my longest and most ambitious video to date, and I cannot thank my friend and new editor of the channel, Carp, enough for banging this one out for me. Shout out to you, King. Anyways, I'll shut the fuck up now. I'll see you next video when I probably talk about the new Captain America movie, because that'll probably generate me some views.